Last video, part 3, video 3. Let's go again. Okay. And I'll swear I'll get this so it's always going to be straight, but there. Okay. So solve each formula for the indicated variable. Okay. So number 8. V equals, and these are all lowercase letters, by the way. V equals S squared plus 1/2 SH. And we're going to be solving for H. And much like what I just said, these are all lowercase letters. So with these formulas, it is case sensitive, okay? Meaning little a does not mean big A, okay? So please make sure that you keep the variables looking the same. So we want to solve for H. So within this equation, we have H here. So that means we want to isolate this part of the equation, and we want to get rid of anything else that's on that side of the equation and move it to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract S squared to the other side. So I get V minus S squared equals 1/2 SH. Okay, so now I have a half and an S applying to the H that I don't want. So typically you would want to get rid of any fractions, and technically, or sorry, fractions or denominators. Okay, so with 1/2, to get rid of a fraction, remember, you would divide it to the other side since it's being multiplied, or you could multiply by the reciprocal. And the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2 divided by 1, or just 2. We're going to multiply by 2. So I have 2 times V minus S squared equals SH. Okay, now I'm getting closer. So I have S times H. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide by S. Okay. This S can cancel with this S because they're the same thing. Okay? I cannot simplify S squared and S for multiple reasons. One is that this is being subtracted, and S squared and S are not the same thing. Okay, so this is not a case where you could simplify that. But I'm going to rewrite it so that it is neat. So H equals 2 times V minus S squared, all divided by S. Okay, let's try the next one. C times the quantity of X plus 2 minus 5 equals B times X minus 3. And we're going to solve for X. Now, as you notice, there are multiple X's. Okay, we have an X over here and we have an X over there. So first thing we're going to have to do is distribute so that we can get those X terms next to each other or combined to each other. We'll see. So we have CX plus 2C minus 5 equals BX minus 3B. So I want the X terms on the same side. So I'm going to subtract BX to the left, and I'm going to move everything over here to the right. I'm going to subtract 2C, I'm going to add 5. Nope, I didn't cancel that one out. So let's simplify what we have. So CX minus BX equals negative 3b minus 2c plus 5. Now let's talk about the order that I wrote it in. So typically you would write things alphabetically, okay? So for example, on the right side, this is alphabetical. We have B, C, and then we have a constant, okay? On the left side though, I did C, then B, okay? And it really doesn't matter, okay? But typically, if you don't have to start with a negative term or a subtraction sign with a term, so a negative sign, then we like to have a leading term that's positive. So in this scenario, since C was positive, I wrote it this way. Over here, since both of these are negative, it didn't really matter, okay? So from here, I need to get rid of the C and the negative B. So this is going to be a skill that you've learned before. And the process is factoring out what you don't want. Okay, so if it was a 2, I could factor out a 2. But in this case, I want to factor in x because there's an x in both terms, right? Cx and negative bx. I'm going to factor out an x. So what's left over is C minus B. And you can check that your answer is correct because if I redistribute, x times c is the same thing as cx, and x times negative b is the same thing as negative bx. So equals negative 3b minus 2c plus 5. And since this is x times the quantity, to get rid of the quantity, I would divide by it. So I'm left with x equals negative 3b minus 2c plus 5, all divided by c minus b. Let's go ahead and start the next problem. Now this one, again, I'm going to challenge you to write it down with me and go ahead and practice it on your own and come back and check your answer. So number 10, b times 5px minus 3c quantity equals a times the quantity of qx minus 4. And we're going to solve for x. So again, some awkward pause. So I can encourage you to pause your video and try this problem on your own. Okay, go do it. Did you do it? Okay, great. Let's answer the question. So multiply the b and distribute it in. Now, like we said earlier, or like I said earlier, alphabetical is the way of going. So when I multiply this, I'm going to make it into 5bpx, because that's alphabetical, minus 3bc equals aqx minus 4a. And I'm solving for x, so I want both x terms on the same side. So I'm going to subtract aqx and then I'm going to add 3bc to the right. So we're left with 5bpx minus aqx equals 3bc minus 4a. Now again, it would have been okay if you had written negative 4a plus 3bc, but again, I just chose to I was trying to improve the lighting a little bit. Showing up very light. Wait, because of where this light is hitting it. Okay, well, hopefully you can read that. I'll obviously work out kinks the best I can. I'm gonna go ahead and try and have it focus. Okay. So, like I said, you could have had negative 4a plus 3bc, but obviously if you don't have to have a negative leading term, then don't. So from here, I'm going to factor out an x, just like we did on the last problem. And then, just like on the last problem, I'm going to divide by the quantity. And then I'm going to take a second to write a nice, clean version of it. So x equals 3bc minus 4a divided by 5bp minus a cubed. Okay, one more. A minus c divided by x minus a equals m, and we're going to solve for x. Okay, x is a very popular thing to solve for, but it will not be the only thing you solve for. Hence the first problem, we did not solve for x. There was an x in the problem, but we didn't solve for it. So typically, if you have any kind of fraction, you're going to work with that first. And we want to get rid of any type of denominator in a problem, especially since the variable we're solving for is in the denominator. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to multiply everything by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by x minus a. When I do that, that will cancel on the left side to leave me with a minus c, and on the right side, I get m times x minus a. Okay, now from here, I'm still trying to solve for x, so I'm going to have to distribute. And I get mx minus am, or ma, again, it doesn't matter, but alphabetical would be am. Then I'm going to add am because we're trying to solve for that x value. So I have a minus c plus am equals mx. And then I'm going to simply divide by m on both sides. And I'm left with x equals a minus c plus am, all divided by m. Okay, and that is the end of our notes for the first lesson. So congratulations on making it through your first lesson. And I will see you in the next video.